Hey guys, it's Spacey Sims, and we're back with more Cupid Parasite, and we are still at the cafe with Shelby, but I'm going to assume we're peacing out and going our own ways and whatnot. So, anyway, here and there, Mr. Snail gave me more little tidbits of advice and ideas. Just as I was thinking it was about time for me to head home, Mr. Snail's cell phone rang. He checked the display, and the contact number made him frown. I signaled that he should go ahead and answer it. He nodded and put the phone to his ear. Sorry about this. Yes, I see. Yes, all right. Again? Fine, then go ahead with that. Unbelievable. Is everything all right? Oh, yes, that was someone from CCAM, the security company that I've contracted. Apparently, they found evidence that someone tried getting into the house. The house? You mean the one on First Ave? The one where we live? Mr. Snail had mentioned that he had evidence of people snooping around trying to spy on him. I'm very sorry. I'll do everything I can to make sure there's no danger to you. But if you don't feel safe, you can... Then it's a good thing we're living together. I was just about to say you can return to your own apartment if this worries you. Oh, no, I'm not worried at all. I'm totally fine. I just want to make this mission a success. But I wonder, who could it be? And why would they keep coming back? Normally your first thought would be a burglar, but multiple attempts at a house protected by a security company? There's a huge CCAM sticker right next to the intercom. You can't miss it. Could it really be someone who knows Mr. Snail isn't married and they're dead set on finding proof? It's Mars and Owen. But Owen's been in the house, so like... A company president always has a target on his back. I'm not ready to accuse anyone, so I'll keep working with CCAM for now. Although, I mean, to be honest, Mars and Owen really have nothing to gain by, like... I mean, I guess discrediting the company means then we would be out of job and then, oh, you didn't do what you said you were gonna do, oh, you know, but, like, you'd think they'd try to sabotage me, i.e. Owen sabotaging me and Shelby and, like, doing all the stuff, you know what I mean? And, like, the Parasite house, but... We'll catch them eventually, but so far they've been long gone by the time the security personnel arrive each time. And the security cameras caught what appears to be a man, but his face is always totally covered, so we can't make out any features. That's definitely a problem. Without a doubt. Maybe it's time to make a public announcement and... Huh? Another call. This time it's... It's okay. Go ahead. Right. Thank you. Hello? Yes, it's been quite some time. Right. Uh-huh. Yes, but... Yes, of course. I understand. But I'll have to check my wife's schedule and get back to you. Yes, goodbye for now. Me beaming in the corner. Ha! What about me? Anyway. Do we have another mission to take care of? I clearly heard him say wife, so I assumed it was about dinner again. Mr. Snail immediately looked exhausted. Yes, well, that was another important client. I hate to ask for your help again, but it's time for another dinner party. Roger that! I gave him a wink and a sharp salute to show him I didn't mind at all. I was really hoping for finger guns. That doesn't happen enough. Which was that? Oh, one of the MCs did that, like, yeah, alright! Finger guns. Please go. That was in Taisho Alice, wasn't it? Yeah. Funny as fuck. But I still the wink and the salute, like, yes, sir! And he's like, stop it. A little goofy. Sadly, Mr. Snail just furrowed his brow even more. He's like, why are you going along with this? Why do you not want me to? We said our goodbyes, and I returned home. Phew! Okay, back to the project planning. After talking to Mr. Snail, I had a much more firm grasp on my idea. I excitedly started writing down even more ideas. My phone suddenly chirped to let me know I had a message. Checking the screen, I saw it was from Owen. Owen? That's kind of unusual. Thank you for getting this to me. Oh, Mr. Snail mentioned he'd like to put out a classified ads for more secretaries as early as tomorrow. Thank goodness. And this wouldn't have been possible without your advice. Mr. Snail must have already gotten the ball rolling then. Just as speedy as ever. When it came to work, I couldn't deny he was basically the perfect president. Oh, but Owen's message. I guess maybe my advice had actually helped him out a little. Owen's message said, and this wouldn't have been possible without your advice. So Mr. Snail must have told him about looking for more help. He says, thank you for getting this to me. Getting what to me, though? And then I'm wondering, did he mean to, like... You know what I mean? It sounds weird. Did he mean to send this to us? Anyway. I have to admit, it feels kind of nice. He's so busy. I'm glad I was able to help, even a little bit. I couldn't help but smile as I thought about my reply to Owen. I'll help out however I can, too. Okay, yep, that's the right answer. I'll do everything I can to help out with things, too. After writing on my reply, I hit send. Then I spread out my notes and got back to work on my plan. I mean, because it's kind of like, I guess maybe there was like a weird thing about maybe wanting... It makes suspicions grow. That fucking went by fast. Here we go. Fucking Mars. But it's kind of weird. Isn't it? Doesn't he have like the little axey thing? I'm assuming it's him, right? Because he's trying to make us fail. But anyway. MQ, your intel was right. He lives alone. That whole thing about being a devoted husband is a big fat lie. Except for the fact that we live there now, so. I'm glad you confirmed it. But what's this MQ thing? It's a code name. After all, we don't know if our conversation is being intercepted. Uh-huh. So, what should I call you then? 007. Let's see. You can call me 007. Not that it means anything, but it sounds super cool, like a proper spy movie. I don't remember Mars's voice, but whatever. Right. So, what about that other thing? Ah, that. I told the magazine's lead editor he was totally single, but no dice. They said that without proof, they're not interested. But we'll get that proof and spread it across the world. Easier said than done, though. What's with these damn CCAM people? I mean, it is a security company, after all. It looks like he's hired on a few others as well. I guess I shouldn't expect it to be easy to expose the deepest, darkest secrets of the president of the Cupid Corporation. But I will expose that smug young upstart. And what about you? Got any bright ideas? As a matter of fact, I do have one. Just leave it to me. I don't like that Owen is bad unless they just made it Owen's shadow and it's not actually Owen. But I mean, like, it's absolutely his outline. So, like, a few days after the second dinner party, I was with Mr. Snail, who was driving us to work. Our morning schedules had somehow miraculously started to line up. Miraculously started to line up. He did. Oh my god. Girl, you're so dense. I love it. She was like, oh, it takes a little bit longer to get to work. Ooh, I'll think about that. And now all of a sudden your schedules miraculously line up. And she's like, weird. Girl. Oh, stop. So cute. I would also be like, huh, random. He's not interested in me and he's not doing this to be nice and cute and slightly flirty. I wouldn't get it either. Being able to drive to work is so much more comfy than taking the subway. I know he's taken the subway up till now, so this was a totally new feeling for me. Oh, there's a new cafe over there, and that restaurant looks really tasty. Is it really that much fun to stare out the window of a car? He must have noticed the sparkle in my eyes as I gazed outside. He let out a small giggle. It really is. I almost never get to ride in cars like this, so I'm having a blast. Ooh, that cafe looks so nice. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. Anyway, how's your competition entry coming along? Shh, shh, shh. Looking out the window, buddy. I actually finished it. Today is the deadline, so I'm planning to submit it first thing this morning. I see. I can't wait to see how it turned out. Thanks. The music's just so cute in the background. The scenery continued to change gradually until we finally got to 7th Ave and Cupid Corps headquarters. Mr. Snail suddenly spoke up. I can't do with all the S's. As if something had just occurred to him. By the way, I talked to Owen about hiring another secretary. I think we found a good candidate and he'll be starting today. Is it Mars? Oh, really? Indeed. Your advice really was invaluable. Actually, you might want to go say hello. And the two of you have already met after all. Oh god, is it Peter? Then wait, is that... Here's our... It's fucking Peter! But wait a minute, though. That makes me wonder, though. Well, no, because when we saw... Because I was literally just thinking in the back of my brain, I'm like, it is Mars's, like, outline, right? Because he had the axe or something in his hand, right? Because I don't think Jupiter did in the very beginning. Because then I was wondering, I'm like, well... If it was Jupiter down here trying to fuck stuff up and Jupiter was also pretending to be Peter, that could make sense. But I don't think the outline, I don't think Jupiter had, like, that it looks too beefy and, like, Mars was, like, a beefy dude. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't look like Jupiter. But I don't really remember. I'm gonna have to go back to the very beginning and, like, look. Actually, hold on. I want to see something. I want to see if I can, like, Google. Because I don't think Jupiter had, like, a... Mars. Cupid Parasite. Okay, let's see if we can go to images. Yeah, no, it's definitely Mars. He's got the weird, like, hooky thingy. Okay, yeah, it's definitely him. Because he's got, like, the little axey thing with, like, the whoop loopy thingy. You know what anyway, you know, because you've seen the frickin' the loopy thingy. You've seen the shadows, so you know what I'm talking about. But I'm kind of curious then, because I still feel like nothing. Maybe it's just secretly want. Like, honestly, I think Peter's definitely a god and he's hiding shit because, like, the man doesn't know how to hold a camera. So come on. But I really want him to be Jupiter. I really do, and not just like, oh, he's a random god that also lives up there that we do not know of. Like, that's not as fun. You know what I mean? So, anyway. Here's our newest secretary, Peter Flagg. That's what we're going at. You can just call me Peter. It's nice to see you again. I don't remember the voice we gave him. But also, he doesn't really have a voice, because, like, everybody else has a voice, and he doesn't. Just sad, but... Peter is the new secretary? The guy who doesn't know which end of the camera was up! Oh, don't worry about that. I almost never get it wrong anymore. They really worked me hard at the TV station. Peter looked extremely proud of himself as he held his hands out to me. I reluctantly shook it and just stared at him to make sure it really was the same Peter. And I don't remember what color eyes Jupiter has, because he did have, like, white hair, I thought. But, like, and he also had the eye. It's just because he's got the same eye covered as, like, what, you know what I mean? It just seemed, and if it's not him, I'm gonna be really upset. Like, I'm just saying. I'm gonna be like, oh, I was really excited. And... Sure, it's fine and cool, I guess, but it's not as exciting. It's gonna be a letdown, you know? Because I'm, like, stoked for, like, he's gonna be Jupiter when the reveal comes. It's gonna be so fun. It's gonna be like, yeah! And then if it's like, oh no, I'm just some other random god. Oh, I mean, okay, like, same vein, I guess, but not nearly as cool. Disappointment level. Maxed, you know? He was the assistant director when we shot Parasite House. But he always talked during the broadcast, held the camera upside down, and all kinds of silly stuff. But he did make his way all the way up to assistant director, so he must know what he's doing. He also graduated from Harvard. I love the names. I would absolutely go to Harvard. Like, that's got the word burn in it. He also graduated from Harvard, just like me. I just feel like, though, if you were like, here's my degree from Harvard University, they'd be like, you what? That sounds so lame. It just doesn't sound like an accredited university. You're like, are you sure? That sounds like an online scam school. Like, I don't know. Like, it just doesn't sound right. I paid them $50 and they printed me out a fake degree, basically. I love how they changed the names in this. It's so good. I talked to an old classmate and he said Peter was looking for a career change. Are you sure he did? I just like... Because all of this, like, Peter being here and, like, all this stuff is like, oh, is Peter really just, like, not really Jupiter and has been a god that's just been hanging out down here fucking around for a while? Because that makes me sad. Or Jupiter's just like, nah, I hang out and do this because I get bored. And I just don't want other people coming down because then they'll find me. And I don't want them to know what my side hobby is. Fucking with people. Sounds like legit for a god. Normally I'd ask Owen to show him around, but he's off today. Would you mind giving him a little tour of the office? I don't have any interviews or anything today. Just a little paperwork to sort out. I'd already submitted my competition entry, so I really didn't have anything important to do. Sure, it'd be my pleasure. I appreciate it, and then I'll let you take it from here. Upon hearing my answer, Mr. Snail sat down at his desk and got straight to work. Seeing that the president was already absorbed in his duties, Peter immediately turned to me. So, as I understand it, my job is to lighten his load a bit and make things go smoother for him. That's right. So you'll need to learn exactly how things work here at Cupid Core. Well, I've got a photographic memory, so that shouldn't be a problem. Do you? He nodded confidently and walked off without prompting. I quickly followed after him. He had plenty of self-confidence, that much was clear. But... So this is the main office, yes? And that's the interview room, I assume? And this is that, what do you call it? The workshop suite? Where you bring in instructors and things like that. Ah, this must be the wedding hall. Obviously, this is my first time here, but it's not bad. Not bad at all. Obviously, this is my first time here. It seems sus. Peter really did seem to have a perfect grasp of the layout of the office without me having to tell him anything. Wow, did he go to our website and research everything ahead of time or something? Our interview room, wedding hall, and workshop suite were all listed on our website, so maybe he checked it out beforehand. Also, it seems obvious that this is a wedding chapel, but okay. He seemed like a pretty dedicated, earnest person at heart. I started to think maybe my fears were unfounded. But they were not. Meanwhile, Peter was back on the move. I felt like he didn't even need me there to guide him. Well, that's pretty much everything. Do you have any questions? Nothing comes to mind, although I am getting a bit thirsty. Oh, well, you can just go. The drink corner's that way, right? Okay, I'm off. Like, there's something about him. He took off without even waiting for me to show him the way. That area was where we provided tea and coffee for our members. Wait, I don't think I told him about that area. How did he know about it? The drink corner was most definitely not listed on our website. Could he actually be a Cupid Core member? But members never went over there. Advisors would always bring them their drinks. So we shouldn't have known where it was. And yet he'd headed in that direction without hesitation, and now he was returning with 2 cups of coffee. And care for some coffee? Thank you. He looked proud as ever as he handed it to me. He then quickly turned toward the nearby interview room. Why don't we take a seat in the interview room there and rest for a bit? We don't usually just take breaks on a whim, and our interview rooms are reserved for members. And how did you know about... you must be the new secretary I heard about.
Huh? New secretary? What are you talking about?
A couple of coworkers noticed Peter standing there and quickly crowded around him. I mean, like, I don't blame you. He's pretty hot, so... Well, yeah, I am the new secretary, so I guess that's me.
I knew it! You used to work at Lost York TV, right? You must be pretty amazing. So what the heck are you doing here? She's just like... What? Lost York TV? That's a huge corporation. Why on earth would you leave a place like that?
And to be honest, I'm just interested in this company. I think it's funny that they have him, like white background. I was just thinking about that. I'm like, it's funny that he doesn't have a color like everybody. Oh, right. He's supposed to be the secret love interest. You're not supposed to know. But we do.
Well, we are the biggest company in our industry, but that's still a pretty big jump. So, Peter, are you single? If you'd like, I can...
Wow, Peter is totally surrounded. Normally the president's secretary would never come down to this floor, so naturally everyone's curious now. And even I had to admit, Peter was pretty cute. I remember him getting chased around during the Paradise House barbecue, too.
What? Peter, you graduated from Harvard University? That's one of the best schools in the country.
We just name our schools weird, that's all.
Didn't Mr. Snail graduate from Harvard, too? Is that how you know him?
Oh, well, This is where he's getting flustered, hiding his lies. All this questioning from the two women was causing him to stutter. I decided it was about time for me to step in. Sorry. Lost York TV and Harvard University. I had no idea those places were considered so amazing. It was moments like these that made me realize just how much I still had to learn about the world. To me, Harvard was just some random college on 8th Avenue, and Lost York TV was just a channel I watched with Clarice sometimes. I knew it was a proper corporation and everything, but I didn't know people would get so excited about it. But if he did come from a good school and a big company, maybe he really could help. Lighten Mr. Snellslow. Sorry, I don't know why I could not read that properly. And if he was able to get a little more time for himself, maybe we could actually have a meal together once in a while. But he still never comes home on time. Mr. Snail was still just as much of a workaholic as ever. He still stayed late at work and never took days off. I stood there stewing about it with arms folded and cheeks puffed out. What reason was there for me to even be in this house? Just in case someone tries to break in, like Mars. What happened to our mission of living a normal married life? All I ever did was play my part during our occasional dinner parties with his business clients. We sound like an angry wife right now. You're just never home. This is not what I signed up for. Wait, we're acting like a wife. Well, this is fun. I had no clue if me living here was helping to throw off whoever was hunting for Mr. Snail's secrets. Should have taken a breath. As he still refused to eat breakfast with me. Oh, and he's still sorry. Even with Peter there, his work hours stayed the same. He just drank his jelly drinks and slept as little as possible every day. She's gonna all of a sudden be sitting in this, he's gonna come home and she's gonna be like, all right. He's like, why are you in my bed? Because this is the only time we get to spend time together. Leave before I wake up. Get home after I go to bed. The truth was, I'd never even seen him sleep for myself. He's a vampire. All he eats is vitamin supplements, protein shakes, and jelly drinks. I feel like that can't be good for him in the long run. Probably not. He would insist that he did eat proper meals when he went out for business dinners and things like that, but... And he seemed to think he could do even more work now that he had a second secretary. Of course, the company's performance was important, but I just wish he was willing to enjoy a little time off. He still goes swimming at that pool to keep fit, of course. I had the distinct impression that something was off with him. Even on his rare days off, he'd still meet with clients. He completely refuses to play the devoted husband role. The first chance I get, I need to explain to him that if he wants people to believe his lie, he needs to spend some time at home. That was all in my mind as I was preparing dinner. I was used to living here by now, so I knew my way around the kitchen. But if that's what I want from him, then I need to play the role of the perfect wife in return. Of course, I'd never been married or even fallen in love, so it was hard for me to say what a perfect partner looked like. Maybe I should watch some movies about married life instead of the ones about dating that I usually do. I thought that might help me figure out how a husband and wife should actually act. I moved around the kitchen with that in mind, but we're not in the kitchen, we're in our bedroom, so give me the right background. A few days later, that night was Peter's welcome party. Everyone on our floor was eager to drink with him, so they excitedly put it all together. And Owen's like, I didn't get a welcome party. And they're like, shut up, Owen! Poor Owen. Cheers!
So tell us, Peter, what's it like being Mr. Snail's secretary? It must be really tough, right? He's so serious about everything. And how about Owen? Are the two of you getting along?
Well... Peter does not know how to... I swear to God, if he's not Jupiter, I'm going to be so mad. I'm just going with it. And I actually think it's kind of funnier if he is, because, like, you see him in the very beginning of the game, right? And it's like, he's just walking by, he's like, what are you doing? And you're like, whatever. And he's like, And he just goes off. Like, he basically says nothing, does not, and he just, like, and you're like, oh, he's, like, strict and angry and, like, oh, tough. You know, he's like, I've got the angry face. You know what I mean? He's got the Van Helsing face where you're like, oh, you're the angry one, aren't you? You know what I mean? It also makes sense why he has a Sprite, too. You know what I'm saying, then, if he's the secret. I didn't figure it out then. I was just like, oh, okay. We only met him once. He showed up and then disappeared. And you're like, okay, he's scary and intimidating. And then you come here and you meet Peter, who is like, he's like, oh, I'm pretty confident about things. Like, I know where things are, whatever. And as soon as women are like, so, he's like, I don't know how to deal with this. And then he's actually kind of a mess. He, like, doesn't have the camera right side up, but he's so he's so confident in himself, because he's like, I'm a god. I'm the fucking king of the gods. Like, I know everything. Plus, the lightning bolt on his lip. It's just, it has to be. There's no way. Okay, that's what I'm going with. It has to be. But I feel like sometimes when things like this happen in games, like, I ruin it for myself. Like, honestly, here's the thing. If I didn't already know Peter was the secret love interest from the very beginning, like, I would have figured it out when we played. I would have been like, oh, it's him, not Owen. Okay, you would have known. But also, I don't know when it hit me, and I was like, wait, that's why he's secret. It's not like, oh, Peter's a love interest, but you can't date him till the end. He's a secret love interest. Why is he because he's Jupiter. Okay. And that's why he's the last one. Because then we're a goddess and he's a god, and that would be the perfect thing for us, not, like, staying here in the human realm, right? And, like, we already know Alan is an incubus, right? And I feel like something Alan said makes it sound like maybe we were one too, but they kidnapped us, and then we were like, oh, we're Cupid, and that's why we don't have real parents. I mean, you're a god, so, like, whatever, but gods still were boinking and creating babies, so, like, she's like, I don't really have real parents. They're just my fake parents and whatever. And I'm Cupid. And she's actually an incubus too. And she was kidnapped from the incubus realm, which is why Alan's route is the second to last route. Because that would make sense. And you'd be like, what? And then you go down Peter's route and he's like Jupiter. And you're like, what? You know what I mean? You're supposed to be surprised. And I hate the fact that sometimes when I play games like this, these are things that pop up in my head. And then when it turns out to be true, I'm like, damn it, I ruin everything. Like, I can't even be like, spoiler, I'm not going to tell you the ending. It's like, I'm just guessing this shit. And, like, I don't know if it was meant to, but I wonder. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder how many people get to the end and find out. Look. I'm putting all my fucking chips in on Peter being Jupiter. Okay? And so let's just go with that. I wonder how many people get to the end and we're like, oh my god, I had no clue! Like, I just want to know how many people were totally clueless and go, what? No, why? I didn't even, because there are times where games do things and you're like, I did not see that coming. I was not expecting that. You know, I wasn't expecting you to be that character. Look, Saint Germain, I was not expecting that out of you. There's shit in Olympia Soiree. Spoiler for that one. I'm not going to spoil it, but there's things that I was like, I didn't see that happening. Like, but there's other things you just, like, see, like, a goddamn sunny day. You're like, I can see that clearly. It is blatantly, it's a big-ass neon sign. And, like, if you try to convince me otherwise, you're going to have to fight me for it because, well, also, because if Peter isn't Jupiter and it's, like, some other word, it's going to be disappointing because now I'm excited for this. Now I'm just like, yes, that's awesome. I love it. I may have figured it out early game, but it's still awesome and props. Good on you for that. That's cool. I'd say twist, but, you know, it's supposed to be a twist, but, like, I ruin things, I really do. I was always like that as a kid, too. I just always was. You'd, like, pick up presents, and you'd be like, it's this! I know what it is! And you just know what it is. I'd, like, ruin everything for myself. And yet, not psychic enough to figure out lottery numbers, or make smart decisions in my life so that, you know, it isn't a fucking train wreck. But I can figure shit out when it's a present, can pretty much guess what it is, and I can pretty much find out the end to a Tome game, and it's not fun. I ruin the good things. I ruin the things that you should be surprised about in life. Anyway. I was sitting at a table away from the action, nursing a drink and watching them from afar. I do just love it, though. Because the whole time you're going to be seeing Peter, and he's going to be kind of like, yeah, I'm like, whatever, I know this. Shit, whatever, I'm good. And then, okay, wait, what? No. And then running away from women in the park, you know. So he's so cocky and, like, full of himself, but then he's also totally fucking insecure and just, like, slightly inept. And it's actually kind of cute. And then you find out he's Jupiter, and you're like, that's cute! You're adorable! Weird, okay. Anyway. Normally at these kinds of events, Clarice and I would be drinking together, but this time I was all alone. Clarice had already gone home, saying she didn't feel very well. It's so unlike her. Clarice usually loves social events like these. I happened to notice Owen standing in the middle of the group as well. He had the same serious look as ever, and just nodded and gave simple answers to each question. I still love Owen. It was pretty obvious that neither of them were particularly comfortable being surrounded by women. Which is just... It looks like... Okay, like, Owen I kind of understand. Like, Owen's like, I'm a little too serious about my job, and I don't understand what I'm doing. And then, but Peter seems like he's totally like... Yeah, no, I got that. And then it's like, oh god, ladies. Which, again, I think is adorable. The truth is, Owen and Peter were both considered two of the most eligible bachelors in the company. Again, why can't we date Owen? I'm gonna need a fan disc so I can date Owen, thanks. That's all the company rumor mill was talking about these days. So they're both pretty popular husband candidates, huh? Of course, if anyone knew Mr. Snail was single, he'd definitely be on that list too. He's got looks, social standing, and a healthy annual income. Healthy annual income! That's an understatement. His one major flaw was his need to constantly be working, which is a huge flaw that most people wouldn't deal with. Takes a very special person to be okay with that. Although some members actually prefer guys like that. I mean, positives and negatives. If, like, you had, like, okay, can we at least have a date night? Cool. And then you're constantly working and then you were secure in your relationship. But, like, you'd kind of always wonder, though, like, do you hate me? I mean, if it was a business marriage, sure. Because that's kind of what we have right now with him, right? So, cool with that. Anyway. I'd rather couples enjoy each other's company, but people want what they want. And some girls didn't want their husbands home all the time. I also would not want my husband home all the time. I like my alone time and playing games and doing this. And it'd be really annoying to have somebody sitting on the couch, backseat romancing with me. Like, that's weird. Don't do that. You know? He'd be in serious demand, but since he can't reveal where he works, he can't take advantage of it. Just that one secret is enough to throw a wrench into the whole works. If he could show up to dates in person, I'm sure he'd have much more success. But he absolutely refuses. Oh dear god, I almost got a Charlie horse on my foot. I was trying to take my frickin' slipper off. Jesus. Hello there. Enjoying your drink? Owen had slipped away from the crowd and was now standing next to me. Oh, we're being flirted with by Owen. I'm okay with this. Look at his pretty eyes. Oh, hello. Yeah, I suppose so. So how's work been for you? Have things gotten better having Peter around? Yes, very much. He's taken a huge load off my shoulders. I'm constantly surprised at how quickly he gets things done. I wonder if Owen knows who he is. So, like, well, because, like, obviously Owen is secretly working for Mars. Okay, we're not supposed to, I guess. I feel like they want you to know that, but maybe you're not supposed to know, but you're very suspicious of it. Again, depending on the voice acting. With the voice acting on, I'm pretty sure it would be obvious. Unless he's doing a voice like that. You know what I mean? But the shadow, you're like, wait, Owen is working for Mars. Okay. But then Owen brings in Peter. Did Owen bring in Peter because he knew he's Jupiter? Because then I feel like that's almost like suspicious, and that might make people wonder, wait, and then, you know what I mean? Like, wait, is Peter in on this? And then, like, people might put together that Peter is Jupiter, and I don't think they want you to know that till, like, his route, when then you find out and you're like, you know? It's supposed to be a huge reveal, not like you're supposed to know already. At least I don't think so, but I don't know. I glanced back at Peter. He was still clearly in agony. I remembered that he'd mentioned he wasn't really good with women at some point. So, anyway, Aren't you planning to go up to him as well? Huh? Well, I wasn't really sure what he was trying to say. He just smiled back at me. One's like, aren't you gonna go flirt with him too? Are you trying to get me off, Shelby? Because it's not gonna work, Owen. It's like, I just want him for my damn self. Anyway, he is a bit odd, you know. He just started here, but he seems to know where to find every last thing in the office. But, like, Owen, does Owen know who he is? Or, like, I'm curious as to why, unless Owen thought, oh, I'll get Shelby because we met when he was a bruiser and he'll fuck shit up and it'll be amazing. That's the only thing I could think. And then maybe Owen has no clue who he is. But now he's, like, sus about him? I don't know. Oh, yeah. When I was showing him around on his first day, he seemed to know all kinds of stuff without me telling him. Is that right? How strange. The other day I caught him just standing there staring at the shredder. Owen sighed and glanced at Owen. Owen sighed and glanced at Owen. Tim! Stop drinking. Owen sighed and glanced at Peter. His gaze seemed to reveal a touch of suspicion. Without warning, he mumbled under his breath. Well, I hope he's not some kind of industrial spy or something. He said it so quietly, it was like he'd forgotten I was there and was talking to himself. Okay, but again, with Owen, sometimes you don't know, is some of this stuff just happening by accident? Or, like, did he hire Peter because he knows he's Jupiter? Or did he hire Peter thinking, oh, Peter will help. He's going to fuck shit up and it'll be fun. Like, you know what I mean? It'll make things worse. Which could absolutely, you know what I mean? Either way it could be, you know, because they're trying to fuck shit up, right? So, but then now with him being like, he just seems to know where everything is. And, like, maybe he's a spy. Like, is he trying to plant that in our head to make us suspicious of Peter? Or is he now like, wait, I hired him and, like, huh, maybe he's a spy so that we don't know that Owen's the spy, technically? His ominous mumblings cast a shadow over my own mind, too. You know what I mean? Like, was that on purpose or that was accidental? I feel like that might have been on purpose because Owen is the spy, kind of, so. I'm home! After the welcome party was over, everyone wanted to head off somewhere for round 2. I politely declined and headed home. It's pretty late. I wonder if Mr. Snail is back yet. I opened the door to the bedroom and saw him laying there fast asleep. Good. He's actually getting some rest. I'd never seen him sleep before, so it was nice to see this was something he actually did. I wanted to take a bath, but I'll have to make sure I'm quiet so I don't wake him up. As I left the room, I figured I'd take my bath and then pass right out. Oh, I'd be so funny if we're like, I'm gonna go take a bath, and then, like, he just and there's like, I mean, we've already seen him naked, right? The whole house thing and everybody ripping clothes off everybody, and he's like, wait, what? But a little later, oh, you're back. After getting out of the bath, I saw Mr. Snail standing there wearing a full suit. I'm sorry, did I wake you? No, not at all. I already had an alarm set, so you don't need to worry. It's 2 a.m. But it's 12:30 in the morning! Yes, I managed to get home early today and decided to take a nap, so now I'm heading back to the office. Looking at his watch, Mr. Snail turned and prepared to leave. Before he could, I grabbed his shoulders firmly from behind. Please wait! What is it? Even though it's just an act, we're supposed to be husband and wife right now, right? Well, I'm not sure I would put it that way exactly, but... He's like, why are you touching me? I can't handle this. But when we have those dinner parties, it's meant to look like we're married, right? Yes, I suppose. And you've been very helpful in those instances. And we don't know when we might get exposed. We should spend as much time as we can to make it seem like you really have a wife. What do you mean? I mean, we should start having sex on a regular basis. What? I think you should just say that just to watch him fucking pass the fuck out. A truly devoted husband wouldn't run off to work in the middle of the night and completely ignore his wife like this. He's like, ugh, God, nagging. Mr. Snail frowned. It felt like he was trying to hold something back. And the entire reason I've remained single up till now is because I didn't want to have to do things like that. I'm like, well, then you either tell everyone I died, or what, you know? I understand. In that case, it'd be best if we remove you from our company's membership. What are you talking about? You can't expect to ever get married with such a selfish way of thinking. Girl! Feisty. I folded my arms across my chest and looked straight into his eyes. I knew how brazen I was being, but I felt it needed saying. If you really do want to get married, you need to show a little bit of effort. Compromise is a necessary part of marriage. Sir, you're officially still registered as a member, which means you do intend on getting married. Is that correct? Of course. And I've been searching every day for someone who can keep a secret and support a husband she knows she'll never get to see. But that woman just doesn't exist. And if she does, she's not interested in marriage. You're demanding a life without a husband. Yes. Yes, you're completely right. Yeah. So all you can do is find a wife who knows about your circumstances and is still willing to help. Do you know anyone like that? As we're standing there, staring. No. No, I do not. Excuse me? Me? Oh, right, we're just faking it. We're totally okay with it. Right. Then your only option is to have me keep on pretending to be your wife instead. But one person alone can't do things that a husband and wife should do together. I can't keep up this act all by myself. Husband and wife. Look, that's what we're pretending to be. Remember that dinner party the other day? They said we didn't act like we'd been married for 4 years. For that second dinner, Mr. Snail and I hadn't really talked for quite a while, so our conversation was really stilted. Wow. I can't read, sorry. Good heavens, your wife is quite reserved, isn't she? I think maybe you need to give her a little more attention, Shelby. Yeah, right? He's so cruel, he's never even home. I haven't seen him in like 4 years. It's like I don't even know him anymore. It's like we're strangers. I feel like an employee. I would just go with that shit. It'd be so funny. He'd be so mad about it, though. I find their innocence charming. Even after 4 years, they act like shy newlyweds. Frankly, I'm a little jealous. See, that's what we were kind of hoping that people would do. Like, oh, you're like newlyweds still. Shy newlyweds. Newlyweds still, like, shouldn't be shy and awkward around each other because this isn't arranged marriage territory. You know what I'm saying? Like, but anyway. I'm sure you're much closer when you're alone, right, Shelby? I mean, we're all familiar with that reputation of yours. At the time, I hid behind Mr. Snail, pretending to be bashful. In fact, I was breaking out in a cold sweat. It was crucial that we start acting more like a close couple, specifically because of the reputation he'd made for himself. But knowing him, I'm sure it's difficult for him to close that gap. And that was undoubtedly the source of all his awkwardness. I was sure I'd messed everything up that night. I was clearly treating you like my employer instead of my husband. If we want to play our roles properly, it would be best if we could make time to talk to each other. What do you think? You're right, of course. You're the one doing me this huge favor, and I've been completely selfish. I'm sorry. First step. Getting married. You don't need to apologize. I accept that this is part of my job. I was nervous about saying all that, but I'm glad I did. Part of your job? Yes, that much is certainly true. For some reason, he suddenly looked happy. I guess thinking about this whole thing as work might have changed his perspective on it. This is work. We need to have work meetings, and we need to go to work and go hang out together as part of work. Sweet. Do I get paid for this? All right, then. I mean, we are, yes. She is, yeah. Let me think. How about we have breakfast together from now on? I'll even cook. Not jelly drinks. Huh? You can cook! Why are you so surprised? I used to cook for myself every day back in college, and there's nothing to worry about there. Who wouldn't be surprised? I'd never seen him do anything close to cooking. I couldn't even imagine it. Do you know how to use the microwave even? I'm not sure if he knows. He's like sitting there like, why? I don't understand what's... You're like, sir, you can't just open the packet of Pop-Tarts. You have to put them in the toaster. But if he'd been cooking since college, I figured it would probably be fine. It was not fine. It's not going to be fine. A husband that can cook for his wife would definitely earn the title of devoted. I nodded at him, deciding it was best to go along with his plan. Great, then let's do that. We'll eat breakfast together every morning. My husband. You really don't have to call me that. That was the kind of exchange real newlyweds should have. I decided we should get through the awkward phase as fast as possible. But it's not like we can start going on dates or anything. If anyone saw us, it'd make it harder for him to find a real wife. This really is a pretty tough challenge. You have dates inside. Stay dates, like staycations, those are the best. Anyway, let's implement the breakfast plan starting tomorrow. I'll add it to my schedule. He checked his watch again, then took out his phone to update his to-do list. Breakfast as a job duty. Speaking of which, other than that one time at the pool, I'd never really seen Mr. Snail outside of a work environment. Also, our mission aside, why don't you try and take some time off to relax? You did just hire another secretary, after all. It didn't have to be with me, of course. I just wanted him to spend some time on himself. But he just stared at me curiously. I love it. We're trying to teach him how to human, and he's like, I do not understand. This does not compute. We do not work all the time. No, robot. Jesus. I do have more time thanks to my new secretary. But I need to use that time to keep growing the company. It would be okay to take an hour or two off a day. But doesn't it ever occur to you to use your extra time to, rest and take it easy for a bit? And what do I gain from resting? And taking it easy never created anything. No, it doesn't create anything, but don't you ever feel like watching a movie or going shopping? Stuff like that? How do you get your suits? Do you send Owen for them? And stuff like that. He repeated what I'd said as if the entire concept was completely alien to him. He's a different kind of robot. Like, the robot characters always don't know how to human, and it's like, what? But it's funny, because, like, now he's like, don't you know how to rest? Rest. Take a nap. Nap? Well, he knows nap, but it's like, do things for fun. Like, working? No. Watching a movie? Is that for work? I love it. He placed his hand on his chin and frowned. He turned his head from side to side. He's gonna fucking blue screen. I can't really think of anything. If I had to pick something, I'd want to reach even greater heights to protect my status. And there he goes again with that obsession of his. The prestige parasite. I felt like I was witnessing the return of Monsieur Essay. I've always wondered, why do you care so much about status and prestige and all of that? What an odd question. A man has nothing without his prestige. The way he said it was so matter-of-fact, I didn't know how to respond and missed my chance to say anything at all. As a god, the desire to boost one's status was completely foreign to me. I saw no value in it. I guess it was different for humans. It reminded me of Peter, who found himself surrounded by women just because he'd gone to Harvard and worked at Lost York TV. That convinced me that Mr. Snail's general outlook on that topic must have been right, at least partially. Now that I think about it, my promotion is my top priority right now, too. My reason for that was so that I could prove my dad wrong, and I was taking advantage of human social systems to do it. The other gods might not understand this concept of status, but I felt like I was starting to get it. But the way he talks about prestige still sounds off somehow. It might be important, but it couldn't be everything. The loving relationship between two people, working together to realize the life of joy they want to live together, sounds nice, doesn't it? Ultimately, prestige and status couldn't be that important. I'd seen so many couples from Celestia, I knew that much. Even now, I'm hardly doing the bare minimum I need in order to achieve that. I won't stop until I've perfected it. I'm still not putting in nearly enough effort, so I refuse to be satisfied. I'll never become a proper man this way. Shelby is the one that, like, when you play the game where you're like, are we all dead? And he's, like, died, and then he all of a sudden realizes that this is all I did, and I never enjoyed a single fucking thing. Not even one Fig Newton cookie. Nothing. Like, and then you're just like, here, I want you to have a cookie. And he's like, what? But I don't have cookies. And then he eats it, and he's like, oh, so glorious! Or, like, a piece of cheesecake or something. And he just has no clue because all he has is jelly drinks and protein bars, and he has no clue about the joys of, like, anything in life. Like, here, touch this soft warm blanket. And, like, it is not necessary. Oh, it's just cuddly for no reason, right? And then he just, like, everything around, he would just totally implode. Like, Just realize that he wasted his life. I mean, you can't, I mean, if this is what makes you happy, Shelby, like, no, I just want to have prestige and just whatever, but, you know, that's it. If that's the only thing important to you, but, like, you also want a wife, it's not gonna, you need to, like, stressing yourself out there, buddy. What? You're not putting in enough effort? Do you seriously believe that? Of course. The company is still in its infancy. We might be at the top of the industry for now, but that's not enough. I have to utilize every possible business opportunity to become the undisputed best in Lost York, and eventually, the entire nation. He is that person who's like, I had a baby, and they will go to the best school, and they will be the best at everything. And why, Timmy? Why do you not know how to walk yet? He's 3 days old! Leave him alone! You know what I'm saying? You're that person that puts everything, because your company is your baby, but you're putting everything on it, and you're forcing this poor child. Oh God, stop. Don't have kids. He's got a grand vision, that's for sure. If he wants to become a corporation big enough to enter the natural stage, that will probably take even more work. I think to enter the national stage, I think. You know what I mean? But I definitely don't think his effort is lacking as an individual. I just want him to take better care of himself. I see. I think I understand how you feel. But when you do reach the top, what then? And also, what if you die by the time you're 35? Because at this rate, you might. Your body's gonna quit. What? No, I exercise every day. Yeah, but you also don't give your body proper nutrition aside from jelly drinks. Your body is just gonna quit on you because it's like, bitch, every once in a while, a cookie is fine. Like, you know? Is there something specific he wants to do once he gets there? But when I asked him that question, he stared at me for a second, frowned, and then his gaze wavered. Yeah, see, does not compute. And once I reached the top, he's like, I do not know. I was not programmed for anything except for reaching the top. And then I suppose I can finally call myself a real man. What is his deal? Was he made fun of or something? Were you bullied as a kid? I think you're a real man already, and a wonderful one at that. Impossible. I'm not even close. After all, I haven't even found a partner, which means my status isn't enough to satisfy them yet. It's because you're too focused on your status. No, I don't think that's it. The reason you haven't found a wife isn't because of some abstract idea of status. But what about 4 years ago? When everyone knew I was single, still not one single woman approached me. With a self-deprecating smile on his lips, he picked up his work bag. It was clear the conversation was over. Anyway, I'm off. Why don't we schedule breakfast for 7 a.m.? Okay, that should work for me. Excellent. I was like, I will just have to change and work till 4 a.m., come home, sleep for a couple of hours, and then get up. With that curt reply, he was gone. In the end, he still chose work over everything else. I looked at the clock. Going into work at this hour was weird no matter how you looked at it. He really was the prestige parasite. It's interesting. I'd heard the phrase work-life balance a lot in human media, and it always made me think of Mr. Snail. Yeah, he has a work-work balance. If you're happy with your personal life, your work gets better. If you're happy with your work, your personal life gets even better. Your life and your job should act like two wheels working together. That outlook definitely makes sense to me. You can't just spin one wheel endlessly. You need to balance them out so that you can travel farther and longer. The wheel metaphor was the first way I'd heard it, but it's also like flying. You can't take flight with just one wing. Of course, if this was really what made him happy, it wasn't my place to say anything. I couldn't deny that I liked working too. But the idea that he needs to keep working harder is just his assumption. Meanwhile, he's letting his personal life rot away. The prestige parasite. I think this particular problem runs especially deep. I don't know what he was like when he was younger, but I find it hard to believe he's always been this way. I decided that I should try to get to the bottom of why he was so fixated on prestige and status next time I got the chance. For now, though, it was time for bed. It had been a long night of drinking and socializing, and I was completely beat, literally me. I sure wish Chi was here to give me one of his incredible massages. Chi had been disappearing at random pretty often lately. I wonder... Is Chi... I was like, is Chi, like, you know, spying for Jupiter, like, you know, and then I was like, is Chi also another Jupiter? Jupiter's like, oh, I can turn myself into a magical creature too. Well, that makes that weird. That's funny. I was just thinking Chi works. Hopefully Chi is on our side and not working for Mars. But then I was wondering if Chi is reporting back to Jupiter. That would make sense too. He was pretty shy, so maybe he didn't like me living with Mr. Snail. Or Chi is Owen. I resolved to pay him some extra attention next time I saw him, and headed to my room to get some sleep. It'd be funny if Chi was Jupiter or something. Like, that'd be hilarious too. I think that'd be a little bit much, like, you know. New chapter. Contract, marriages, and secret lessons. Wow, that didn't stay up long enough for me to read it. Jesus. Anyway. We're a little under time, but I'm fucking starving. I think I'm gonna die. So, like, I'm gonna stop here. And then it evens out, because sometimes we go shorter and sometimes we go over, so it evens itself out. But anyway, I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.